The year was 1962. Although the decision to desegregate schools in the Brown v. Board of Education case had been made nearly a decade ago, Southern segregationists still reacted strongly to the first African American students to attend traditionally white schools like the University of Mississippi. The result was one of the most violent riots of the era, the Battle of Ole Miss. Taking place the night of September 30th, 1962, the riot would show that the Constitution could be upheld in a time of crisis and that no mob rule could override federal forces. Earlier in the month, African American student James Meredith had applied as an exceptional scholar from Jackson State University, even with experience being an Air Force veteran. President Kennedy had discussions with Governor Barnett regarding the protection of Meredith upon his entry into the university, but the governor had publicly expressed his opinion to keep the institution segregated. In a publicly televised series, Barnett described integration as drinking from the cup of genocide and declared that no school will be integrated in Mississippi under his service. Initially, President Kennedy sought to avoid federal intervention, hoping that U.S. Marshals as escorts would be adequate in getting Barnett to comply. The president would hold secret phone calls with the governor from September 27th to September 30th, until Barnett reluctantly agreed to let Meredith attend in exchange for a scripted event that would save face and maintain civil order. To accompany Meredith on his registration, Robert F. Kennedy brought over 500 U.S. Marshals to the site. The presence of the Marshals on campus caused thousands of students to feel threatened. Led by Edwin Walker, the large group surrounded the site and gradually became beyond the control of the patrol officers. By the evening, a full riot had broke out in front of campus. Many of the Southern segregationists brought weapons and fought against federal troops. Rioters threw explosives and targeted the media by destroying cameras and attacking reporters. As the night progressed, President Kennedy decided to call in reinforcements, ordering members of the 503rd and 716th Military Police Battalions. By the end of the violence, over 166 men from the U.S. Marshals and 35 of the National Guardsmen were injured, and 2 men, the French journalists Paul Guihard and onlooker Ray Gunter, were killed.
It was 1964 when Bob Moses, leader of SNCC, decided that a much larger operation was required in order to get the attention of the federal government and forcing them to act. The operation, titled Freedom Summer, was very thought out and very well organized by Moses. He called in hundreds of Northerners to come down to Mississippi in order to help blacks with the voters' registration process. The Freedom Summer Project successfully prepared the volunteers through a week-long class which taught them the essential goals and skills for missions. Before being sent out into the field, they were warned, "You may be killed," preparing them to be committed to the task of fighting and advocating for civil rights. Freedom Summer was also successful in planning freedom schools that help teach blacks the essential of registering to vote and encouraging nonviolence when approached by white mobs. Although Freedom Summer was a large project at scale, it did not produce large success due to the intervention of extremists in the South, such as the Ku Klux Klan. Klansmen targeted 3 of the first volunteers who investigated in Mississippi, 2 whites from New York and 1 black Mississippian. These 3 men were named Andrew Goodman, Michael Schwerner, and James Chaney. The men went missing during the investigation of a burnt-down church that attracted a lot of national attention. By the end of the first week, every major news station had covered the story of the 3 men's disappearance. President Johnson called for a large manhunt and sent out 200 sailors to search the waters, while large police forces searched the land for the 3 men. 44 days after the incident, the men were found dead, which caused an uproar within the nation. Although Klansmen caused a lot of trouble for the Freedom Summer Project, the project continued. Many civil rights workers were shot, beaten, and killed. That has struck fear into many of the participants of Freedom Summer. Many were afraid of the troubles of joining a freedom school, which prevented them from making the attempt. Just a little more over than half of the students who attended the freedom schools were able to register to vote. This resulted in a minor success in their goals, but invoked a massive national attention.